All right, let's talk some Justin Fields. Did not have his best game for the Texans, and it's just been an odd situation where it seemed like the Bears are kind of putting him in position to fail, and to some degree, he is failing. But let's talk about, is that his fault? Is that the Bears' fault? The Bears are also 2-1, so they're winning football games despite all of this. But I want to start off with this play because I don't know. When I watched the tape, I know kind of the narrative has turned on Fields. And maybe this is going to be a rare scenario where I'm higher on him than other people are, or I don't always know. Maybe the average people are still high on Fields. I'm not really sure. But, he is Pro Football Focus's lowest rated quarterback right now. The statistics aren't spectacular with Fields, and especially when you see some of these other younger quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence kind of stepping it up in year two. Certainly some of the blame is going on Fields, but I still do see the flashes, and it makes me wonder if he was in a better situation, would things get better? Like this play, it's going to be man coverage, and watch what happens. Fields takes a snap, and Fields is going to look down to Field, and, is there something open? Maybe. Maybe you could try to route that's going to be to the player who's currently standing at the 45-yard line going towards the sideline, towards the bottom of the screen. That could be open, but again, it's a tough throw, and it is third down, and you have to get to the 45-yard line. This is a difficult play to gain yards here, and this is an important play to gain yards here. None of the other guys are, going to get a first down realistically, and the most open route is still a big risk, and, the offensive line did their job, but you can only block for so long. Eventually, pressure is going to come. However, when the pressure gets there, he's going to be able to get out of this pressure and then find a running lane. It's man coverage, so he can use his legs since 5 guys are turned away from him. He picks up a ton of yards on this play and picks up a big third down. And this is just something that he's always consistently been able to do. And I still do, when I watch his tape, think, man, this guy's legs make him better than maybe what he would be if he didn't have this stuff. Yes, maybe you could argue he relies on it, but why not rely on it? Because it's good. It's a positive trait, and it does make me wonder if he's in a better situation, would things work out better? Like this play is a good example of, I watched this situation and man, it just looks tough where it's, again, going to be man coverage. Also, by the way, I haven't paid too close of attention. I watch every game, but I hadn't paid too close of attention to how exactly schematically the Texans were running their defense this season with Lovie Smith. I know he typically loves his Tampa too. A lot of man coverage, which it's working out for them. Interesting stuff there by Lovie to kind of adjust a little bit. Something that he's not necessarily known for. Maybe it's just a this game thing, I don't know. But that was an interesting tidbit I learned. But back to Fields. You see that once this play begins, he's going to roll out to his right. And again, there's 3 routes in this direction. None of them are open. And these are the kind of difficult things that Fields is getting put in. Justin Fields is going to, do exactly what he should do. To me, this is a good play, throwing the ball away there. This is something that Fields did not do early on in his career. He almost never threw the ball away in college. And even in his first season, he, had some issues with it. But this season, hey, getting the throwaway, that's a good play by Fields. He's getting better. The issue, of course, is just no one's getting open, so it doesn't really matter. However, now we got to talk about the actual negatives. Listen, that's true. All that stuff is very fair and very valid. That all of the situation stuff that he's been put in makes him look worse and makes his numbers look worse. That stuff is clearly true. But I've always maintained that even regardless of situation, you can still evaluate a quarterback and how well they played. Unless you're just looking at passer rating and not focusing on anything else, typically if you watch a player play and you understand their situation and you're being honest with yourself about it, you can evaluate how they played. And while Fields was in tough situations, it's not like nobody ever got open on any plays. This play is going to be a great example where you have a tight end who's going to try and get into a gap in coverage against this zone coverage. And watch how right when this play begins, you see right here, there's a wide open player. I mean, this is the throw you have to make. This is a 10 out of 10 times has to be a completion. Not only does Fields miss this throw, it ends up getting picked off and intercepted, and that just can never happen. It just can't. Maybe Fields thought he was going to run closer over the middle than he did. I don't know. But the reality is that's just a throw that has to be made. You have to be able to pick up a decent chunk play on that one, and you certainly can't throw an interception on that one. So while we can blame the situation all we want to, and we'd be kidding ourselves to pretend that doesn't play a role, there's other things at play here. And like even this one, what's going to happen here is it's, again, going to be a zone coverage play. As you see on the screen, cover 2 zone. You have a receiver who's going to kind of get into that, middle area of the field, the eye of the storm area, as I like to call it, where that can be a way where you can get someone open. However, right when this play begins, it's being covered pretty well. The middle linebacker doing a good job of dropping back into coverage to not allow for Fields to just hit him underneath. So you're going to have to throw it a little bit high, get it over the linebacker. There's safeties who can come in and make a play. This is a dangerous throw as is. It's really going to have to be perfectly accurate to get this completion. Fields' throw is not perfectly accurate. It ends up getting intercepted. It was tough. There was not a ton of space there. Also, every other route on that play was actually open, so that's kind of a tough thing as well, as he threw it to the one unopened guy. But that happens in football. Like, I don't get too on to guys when stuff like that happens, just because sometimes you make your first read and you like your first read enough to make the throw, so you don't get to your second read even if that was more open. Tom Brady does that sometimes. However, Tom Brady does not fire the ball through a tight window and miss the throw too often. Again, every quarterback does to some degree, but it's all a consistency thing. How often do you do it? And this is just, again, it's a mistake, and these are tough mistakes. It's hard to win a football game when you make these kind of mistakes. It makes it easier when you play the Texans, but that's how they were able to win, or play the 49ers in incredible weather. But for the most part, these are things that can really hinder your ability to win a game, and part of probably why we're seeing the Bears kind of give up on Fields. Maybe this is part of it. I don't know. And even stuff like this, it's just true that, when I watch Fields tape, and this goes back to college when I wasn't a huge fan of him, was, every time I watch his tape, there's plays where I'm like, man, that was a mistake. That was just, what were you doing there? Not even like a mistake, more of I don't understand the logic there. This play, it's a concept designed to beat zone coverage. You have one route going a little bit deeper, another route going a little shallower. The guy in that zone can only cover one of those two. Whoever he covers, you throw to the other guy. Kind of how this play works. So we're now going to go about 2 seconds into this play. It's just barely under 2 seconds. So still relatively early on in the play. Again, 2.5 seconds, that tends to be when you should be making your throw. So that's, if he's not making this throw right this second, it's okay. But right this second is really one to read, I think, presents itself that you probably should throw underneath. The linebackers are staying pretty far deep on this one, so just throw underneath and pick up some yards that way. This is the way this play is designed on a second down and somewhat long. You have to get to the 30, making it easier for yourself. But Fields instead tries to scramble out and ends up falling over his own offensive lineman. And again, if he gets out, maybe he is able to pick up more yards on that play. But it just kind of makes you think, like, if you just stood there, you would have been able to get more yards. That's just kind of one of those things that does drive you a little bit crazy about Justin Fields. Again, do you take the good with the bad? Because I showed that first play where he scrambled out and was able to pick up a ton of yards. But there's sometimes when, I kind of brought up the good and the bad of that. There's definitely positives. I would still probably say I'd like him running, but I would like to see him maybe on certain scenarios throw the ball a bit more, run the offense a bit more. And it certainly seems like the Bears coaching staff wants to see him run the offense a bit more, just given, or, front office, just given the way that, again, not really putting the ball in his hands too often and not really giving him too much to work with on the outside. So in conclusion, am I giving up on Fields? No, absolutely not. Have him play this season, see if he can get better at the things that he's not great at, and see if you can utilize the things that he is good at better. I think those are the two things you want to see with Justin Fields. But the reality is, if Fields doesn't get better, this team is not winning football games. Like, Fields does have to improve, and again, they're 2-1, so maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But the reality is, there still are significant issues with Justin Fields on tape that, who knows? With quarterbacks, it's always difficult to tell how many years you give them, all of that stuff. I don't know. It's very difficult. It's like predicting the weather. Some people can do it, but I can't, right? So that's kind of how I feel about this stuff. It's very, very difficult to predict. But what I can do is explain how he's currently played, and to me, that is how he played against the Texans. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.